Ever wondered why the world seems to be split between two major power blocks? Welcome to the precarious balance of global power. It's a high-stakes game of chess, where nations are the pieces and the board is the world map. The current global political climate is a fascinating dichotomy. On one side, we have the United States and Europe representing a liberal, democratic ideology. They are the defenders of human rights, free markets, and rule-based international systems. On the other side, there's Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran, each with their unique political structures and ideologies, but united in their opposition to the Western dominance. The United States and Europe, often viewed as a unified Western bloc, share a history of cooperation and mutual support. They've forged alliances, established trade agreements, and stood together in the face of global conflicts. They champion a world order that values democracy, individual freedoms, and economic liberalism. On the flip side, Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran, often seen as the Eastern Bloc, have formed a counterweight to the Western powers. Each of these countries has its own distinct political and economic systems, yet they share a common thread of resistance towards Western ideologies and hegemony. They advocate for a multipolar world where power is not monopolized by a few. This division isn't a recent development. It's been in the making for decades, tracing back to the Cold War era. The Cold War, a prolonged period of political and military tension between the Western and Eastern blocs, has left an indelible mark on our global landscape. It ended, but the echoes of its ideological and geopolitical conflicts still reverberate in the corridors of power today. So here we are, in a world divided along ideological and geopolitical lines, a world where power blocks vie for influence and control. But how did we get here? Let's rewind a bit to understand the roots of this global divide. The seeds of the present rivalry were sown during the Cold War. This era, stretching from the mid-20th century to the early 90s, was a time of tension and competition, primarily between two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. The ideological chasm between the democratic, capitalist West, led by the United States, and the communist East under the Soviet Union, was vast and seemingly irreconcilable. The world watched with bated breath as these colossal entities battled for dominance, not on a battlefield, but in the economic, political, and social arenas. Yet the Cold War was more than just a contest of ideologies. It was an arms race that pushed the boundaries of technology and humanity's potential for destruction. The fear of nuclear annihilation was a constant specter, haunting the collective consciousness of the world. It was a time when the words mutually assured destruction became chillingly familiar. The Cold War, however, was not an endless standoff. The Soviet Union, grappling with economic challenges and internal dissent, began to crumble towards the end of the 80s. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 symbolized the end of an era, and the dissolution of the Soviet Union soon followed. The United States emerged from the Cold War as the sole superpower, its influence stretching across the globe. It was a time of American supremacy, a period characterized by the spread of liberal democracy and free market capitalism. The world, it seemed, had tilted decisively in favor of the West. But nature abhors a vacuum, and so does power. The absence of a counterbalancing force to the United States led to shifts in global dynamics. New powers began to rise, seeking to fill the void left by the Soviet Union. These powers, driven by their own ambitions and ideologies, would soon challenge the established order, setting the stage for a new era of global politics. This power vacuum led to a shift in global dynamics, setting the stage for the rise of new powers. The 21st century saw the rise of new powers, challenging the unipolar world. The dawn of the new millennium brought with it a shift in the global power structure, with several nations emerging as formidable forces on the world stage. China, a sleeping giant for many decades, awakened with a roar, rising spectacularly in terms of both economic and military prowess. It transitioned from a primarily agrarian economy to become the world's second-largest economy. China's military modernization, coupled with its ambitious Belt and Road Initiative, is a testament to its global aspirations. Parallel to China's ascent, we witness a resurgence of Russia. Once crippled by the collapse of the Soviet Union, Russia has resurfaced as a potent global player. Its military interventions in Georgia, Ukraine, and Syria, along with its cyber and information warfare, demonstrate its renewed assertiveness. Russia's strategic alliances with China, North Korea, and Iran further fortify its position. Speaking of North Korea and Iran, Their ambitions cannot be overlooked. North Korea, despite its economic struggles, has managed to develop nuclear weapons, thereby altering the balance of power in the Korean peninsula. Iran, on the other hand, has not only pursued a nuclear program, but has also wielded significant influence in the Middle East through its proxies. These countries have formed strategic alliances to counterbalance the power of the USA and Europe. China and Russia's partnership is a case in point. Their collaboration in various sectors, including energy and defense, and their shared vision of a multipolar world, challenge the Western-led order. Similarly, North Korea's nuclear ties with Iran and its diplomatic relations with China and Russia add another layer to this intricate power dynamic. These developments have led to a new era of global power dynamics, characterized by a clash of powers. The rise of these new powers, their alliances and their ambitions have created a complex geopolitical landscape where the interplay of power is no longer a simple game of chess. It is a multi-dimensional puzzle that continues to evolve and shape the course of global politics. Today we find ourselves in an era marked by a clash of powers. This is not a simple game of chess, but a complex web of geopolitics where the moves made by one player can reverberate around the globe. Let's start with Ukraine, a country that has become the embodiment of this clash. On one side you have Russia, asserting its influence and control. On the other, you have the United States and Europe, pushing back against this perceived aggression. It's a tug of war that has seen no clear victor, and the people of Ukraine caught in the middle. Over in the South China Sea, the situation is equally tense. China's territorial claims in the region have raised eyebrows, particularly among neighboring countries and the United States. These waters are not just about territory, they are also crucial trade routes, and the control over them can significantly shift the balance of power. Then there's the Middle East, a region known for its volatility. Here, Iran's nuclear ambitions have been a source of concern for both the United States and Europe. At the same time, North Korea, backed by China and Russia, continues to flex its nuclear muscles, creating a palpable tension that extends far beyond the region. In the midst of these flashpoints, international institutions like the United Nations, NATO, and the European Union play a vital role. They are the arenas where these powers can voice their concerns, negotiate, and ideally, find peaceful resolutions. Yet their effectiveness is often hampered by the veto power of some of these very players, creating a paradox that underscores the complexity of this global standoff. This is the world we live in today, a world of high stakes and high tension, where the actions of a few can impact the many. The stakes are high, and the world watches with bated breath as the powers continue to clash. What does the future hold for global politics? A question we're all grappling with, yet the answer remains shrouded in uncertainty. As we look ahead, we can foresee an array of possible scenarios, each with its own unique set of challenges and opportunities. One potential future is a world marked by continued rivalry between the established and rising powers. The United States and Europe on one end, Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran on the other. In this scenario, the global stage could become a high-stakes chessboard, with each side maneuvering for strategic advantage. Yet this path, while possible, is not inevitable. Alternatively, we could witness a future characterized by cooperation and dialogue. In this world, nations would recognize that their destinies are intertwined, and that they must work together to address shared challenges. They would set aside their differences to forge a more equitable and sustainable future. It sounds idealistic perhaps, but history has shown us that even the fiercest rivals can find common ground when their survival depends on it. The role of emerging technologies in shaping the future of global politics cannot be overemphasized. From artificial intelligence to cyber warfare, these technologies present both opportunities and threats. They have the potential to redefine power dynamics, reshape economies, and even redraw the boundaries of the possible. The future of global politics will also be shaped by global challenges, such as climate change and pandemics. These challenges transcend national borders, and their solutions demand global cooperation. Climate change, for instance, threatens us all regardless of geography or political allegiance. It's a stark reminder that we share one planet, and that we must act as stewards, not just for our own nations, but for the world. While the future is uncertain, one thing is clear. The global political landscape is more complex than ever before, and navigating it will require both wisdom and courage. As we look to the future, let's strive for a world where cooperation triumphs over rivalry, where technology is harnessed for the common good, and where we rise to meet the global challenges that face us together.